Hello and welcome to the No Pricks Allowed podcast with your host, Aaron Buchner from Cactus. I'm Wendy McConnell. Hi, Aaron. How you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. My left arm's a little sore. I had to give blood yesterday, so a little sore in the one arm.
Okay, you
Yeah,
had to or you chose to?
half and half kind of. I chose to, but I kind of had to because of my age. I needed to double check I'm still working, everything's going okay. So yeah, I had to kind of do it, make sure I'm good.
So it was for testing.
Yes, it was just for testing. Yeah, let's see how unhealthy I am at this age and how bad my kids and eating hot dogs and mac and cheese has helped me the last 7 years.
Can't wait to hear the results. Can't wait. All right, Aaron. So what are we going to be talking about today?
Today, we are going to talk about covering your ass, or CYA, as my wife likes to say it. So we're going to talk about covering your ass when in terms of a financial plan and why it is important that you need to cover it when you're building your financial plan and talking about finances.
Okay.
So it's, I'm going to try and give a story to it so everyone gets a concept of why is this important? Why would I care about covering my ass when it comes to this? And the way I can look at it is this, is we bought tickets for a couple of weeks and we're going to Ottawa, and there's a gigantic bouncy castle. It's 8 different gigantic bouncy castles that my kids can go on, adults can go on. So it's actually rated for adults. And we get 3 hours in this. We spent money and we have to drive about an hour and a bit outside of here to go to it. And we want to make sure that time spent, those full 3 hours, can be utilized as much as possible. And we don't want to have anything unexpected affect that time. We want to make sure those 3 hours is everything we wanted. So we're making sure, okay, we'll have extra water. We're going to have sunscreen. We're going to bring extra clothes for the kids. We're going to bring snacks for the kids in case they get hungry. We need to bring something in the car for the kids to entertain them so they go crazy. We're going to fill up the car with gas. We're going to do all these things in preparation of what could possibly happen that could take us away from those 3 hours. Those 3 hours of just pure bliss of jumping on bouncy castles with my kids. So that is where I think most people realize, and even in terms of going on vacations, it's the same thing. When you plan for a vacation, you're thinking, okay, well, what happens if it's a little bit cold? So you pack a sweater. What happens if it rains? You might pack those extra socks in there in case you get wet. You're always going to kind of be prepared for what are those other things that could happen along the way. And that's what covering your ass is with a financial plan.
So I heard you talk a lot about the kids. If the kids get hungry, if the kids are thirsty. Are you packing your own snacks? Are you thinking about yourself as well? Bring an extra pair of flip-flops in case one of them busts during the bouncy house.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, there's going to be snacks for us for afterwards, and probably something sugar-coated for us because we're going to be exhausted afterwards, and probably some Advil too. I'm sure we're going to need it.
No sugar for the kids, though, because that'll just add to the problem, right?
Yeah, well, maybe before they go on, but we're also there at 9 o'clock. I don't know. Should I give sugar to my kids at 9 in the morning?
Yeah, it's vacation. Yeah, do it. All right. So, Aaron, what are the most important ways to, as you say, cover your ass?
So the first one I'm going to go into is, so some of these are products that you can buy and some of them are just actions you can take. So the first one I always stress about and we always hear about is life insurance. And if we all know life insurance, it's that product you buy to insure your life, that in case something does happen. And because we don't know how long we're going to live and we don't know if something will happen in a few years or a few months, you get prepared. And it's not even just the fact of buying life insurance is to protect in case you pass away and to pay off a mortgage or any debts you have. It's also to secure that financial plan. You have these goals that you've created with your spouse and hoping that you're going to achieve in terms of retirement or vacation plans and all these things. You want to make sure that money is there so even your spouse can still do those things later on if something happens. And I think the other ones I always mention with people they don't think about is it's also the other things you don't think about with life insurance that can help is there are those grieving times where counseling or time away from work is going to be needed, that it's not just the debt, it's what is all those other things. So life insurance is one of those first things that you want to have to cover your ass if something happens to you, and make sure your financial plans are going to be succeeded for your spouse in your loss.
Okay. And how many people do you think actually do that?
Oh, you know what? I haven't seen the statistics in a while, but I believe it's somewhere near it's 50% of people, or it's the fact of 50% of people have life insurance. I could be very wrong on statistics, but I also know it's if people have life insurance, they're also drastically underinsured in the amount of insurance they actually need. So that's something that a lot of people need to revisit and think about, because it's not just, like I said, the mortgage, it's that income loss and what are those financial goals that you need to achieve, and making sure those are covered off with life insurance as well.
Okay. So what else?
What else? We're going to go into, so from life insurance, the other one that few people know or hear about is critical illness and disability insurance. I'm going to start with the products right off the bat, I know, but a lot of people don't understand the value of the critical illness and disability insurance, that those are the products you need, that if you are injured, unable to work, or have a critical illness such as a heart attack, stroke, and cancer, you get a lump sum of money to help you recover. It's the fact that you will then get this money that you can take time off of work when you don't have income coming in to recover. So you can pay off those bills or go on vacation. So it's an added benefit to you, because you're injured. You want time off. I don't want to go back to work. Like if I broke my leg or something and I wasn't able to work, I want to take as much time off as I physically can. Especially, I don't want to be just like, okay, I have to go back to work. I need to work. I want to take time off. So critical illness and disability is that other product that will cover your plan to ensure you can still have those goals, pay for the house, pay for the bills, as well as reach all those financial milestones in life.
So, like here in the U.S., would this be like our long-term disability insurance? Because I've never heard of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, critical is two different things. So there's critical illness and there's disability insurance, and they're actually two separate products and cover two distinctly higher things. So a critical illness is just a one-time lump sum payment of money, that if you're diagnosed with heart attack, stroke, or cancer, they will give you a lump sum of money to help you recover. Disability insurance is if you're injured and unable to work for a prolonged period of time, you will then get a monthly payment, like a salary, ongoing until you're able to return to work, or even the expiry of what the rules are within the disability policy. Say you no longer qualify for the insurance and need to go back to work.
Yeah, that's sad. We don't like when that part happens, right?
No. And yeah, who wants to go back to work when they don't have to?
How else do we CYA?
CYA. Big one is diversification in your investments. I know it's a huge thing a lot of people talk about. I know, and you look happy when I say diversification there. You kind of cringe a little bit.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
So
explain.
Explain it. So diversification is not that old adage of don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's don't invest in one stock or even one fund. It's ensuring that your investments are spread across different areas of the stock market. So we're not talking about just equities, which I know equities, I need to find a better term for that. But we're not just looking at the big companies. Like you're not just buying everything in the States and the big companies like the Amazon and the MasterCard and the Visa and the Facebooks, or you're not focusing on just technology within the States. You're buying other areas. So you're looking at, okay, what is there in Canada in terms of financial? What is there in Europe as Asia? The emerging markets, and then even looking at different things, not just technology, you're also looking at commodities.
So it sounds a little bit like the game Monopoly. I always wanted to buy railroads. You get the utilities, like, along with the real estate. Is it somewhere on that wavelength?
It's definitely buying different companies in different sectors and making sure you have a little bit in everything that's out there.
Okay.
And then even with diversification just becomes even risk tolerance and risk capacity. So it's even how much risk are you willing to take on, which can be, can you actually succumb to watching the stock market go down -20 or -5? And do you have a long enough time frame in your investments to allow it to recover so you can rebuild that money? And even tolerance and even your capacity, it's the fact of, are you financially able to take those -6s? Because if you're in retirement and you're withdrawing money and the markets go down, are you able to even survive off taking out less money so you don't dwindle that nest egg? So it's not even just I can handle a -5 or I can take a -20 and be okay. It's, but financially, do you have enough money to even live with that impact?
Okay. And that's why sometimes, in retirement, you want to do the different buckets with the long term and the short term and the mid-level term,
Yeah.
and to just cover your ass.
Yes. Always cover your ass.
What else should we be looking for? I imagine there's going to be an emergency fund come up at some point.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll jump into that since you're coming in. Emergency fund is always a big one for everyone. That's even knowing how much to put into it is always a struggle for a lot of people. I always say with people, it's do how much income you need. So replace that income that's coming in from your job. Make sure that's replaced for a certain amount of time, be it 3 months or six months, which a lot of this is also going to depend on what job you're in and how difficult it is to find a replacement if you were to lose your job. But then it goes further. Emergency fund can be those items that just pop up out of nowhere, such as you pop the tire on your car and now need to buy a new tire. The furnace randomly breaks down unexpectedly and you have to replace that. So it is hard to figure out exactly how much money you need, and it's going to vary based on everyone, but you should always have it, because the last thing you want to do is dip into credit cards or even your investments, because that's going to hurt a lot.
So where do you keep this emergency fund? In like a high yield savings account and CDs? Like how? Where's it at?
High interest savings account is always the smartest route to go. You can keep it in your basic savings account at the bank, depending on how much return you're going to get. But the key thing with emergency is you want to ensure that money is there and keep up with inflation. So you want to make sure whatever you're getting in terms of a return, it's a guaranteed, you're not going to lose that money, but it's also not going to lose purchasing power in the future.
So here's the here's the difficult part. We're supposed to have 6 to 12 months of an emergency fund. That's a lot of money. I mean, it's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And then you're talking about the insurances that we should be purchasing and all of that. Where's all this money coming from, Aaron? How are we supposed to pay for all of these insurances and have all of these savings for a case of emergency and pay all our bills? What? Who can do this? Come on.
Side hustles. No, no. Well, if you want a side hustle, go for it. Not my cup of tea. It's budgeting. It comes down to budgeting, and it is costly. I don't deny it. When you start talking about, I got to buy life insurance and I got to buy critical illness and I got to put this money into an emergency fund. Yes, it's a lot of money at times that can be put away. So it comes down to budgeting right off the bat and making sure that these are covered as much as possible, because you do have financial plans. Like you said, everything in terms of financial plan is reaching your goal, and you want to make sure you can reach that goal. So you want to cover it as much as possible. The same way I want to make sure my kids don't do something at the bouncy castles and don't have issues. It's like, I want to make sure those 3 hours are great. Or if you're going to have vacation, you don't want to be on vacation and go, oh shoot, I don't have a sweater. It's freezing. Now I got to go buy a sweater, but everything's closed and you can't. And now you're stuck in the hotel and can't go anywhere. Like, you don't want that stuff to happen. So it is 100% budgeting and looking at it, but you can shop in terms of life insurance and critical illness. You can shop around for those, and you can find low cost solutions to fit your needs on short terms and replace them on a ongoing basis once more money becomes available.
So what you're saying is, and this is what most people do not like to hear, is people need to live below or within their means.
Yes, I know. As much as it's life.
So not fun. So not fun.
I know. So not fun. It's yes, you need to think about your goals and what you want to achieve. I don't deny everyone wants to go on trips and you want to go on vacations. I want to go on
But the
vacations all the
next
time.
neighbor just got a BMW. Come on now. I got to get a Mercedes to one up him.
I'm sure you can find a classic one somewhere. One like someone's got. I still find those old Mercedes on the roads from like 1990s. You know, you find one of those somewhere. Yeah, no, you gotta. It's still it's finding that balance between what do you want today, what do you want in the future, and it's that impact. I'm not gonna say you have to invest all the time. If you want to take a break and you want to go on the vacation, I'm okay with it. I gladly say go for it if you want to, but it's make sure that if you do take that time off, how do you get back on track down the road? Is the next part. So if you had to take a year off and even with the critical illness or disability, something happened and you couldn't invest, it's okay. How can we get back on track once your income starts coming back in? And that's where that financial plan or those conversations on an ongoing basis help reach, figure out how do I get there and what do I need to do?
Right. Okay. So I think we've talked about this before. I don't have a will. I'm married. And it's just the two of us. We don't have children. I don't need a will, right?
Yeah, you need a will. Get a will. The key thing is the way we can look at it. I know you talked about this, and I still have to get my lawyer friend to come in, and I'm chatting with him right now to try and come in, and we'll do a more in-depth will talk because I'm not a lawyer, so don't. They know it a little bit better than me,
Right?
but even with a will, it's the fact of it says how do you want your money and your assets to go after your passing. It's your way of saying, okay, once I'm gone, I still want to have some control over what happens. You want to make sure things aren't lost, things are moved from you to your spouse a specific way to not even lower taxes, but to also ensure it moves over as smoothly as possible without delays. Because the last thing you want to do is not have a will and then have delay upon delay upon delay before the money can be moved over from one account to the other, and that can cause massive complications.
And I never thought about the taxes aspect. That's a consideration as well, huh?
Absolutely. There's I'm not gonna go into depths with it, but at least in Canada, there are some rules with how the money can transfer that you can have tax implications within a certain amount of time, and depending on what the will states, there's going to be tax implications to it that you have to think about. But even if you're not even thinking about a will, if someone is living at home, don't have any real assets, but maybe have an investment account, think about just who are the beneficiaries on those investment accounts. Have you named someone to take those accounts if you were to pass away? So even if a will or you're not quite at the will, make sure those are in place so that if something did happen, the money is going to flow to the next person based on those beneficiaries that are in there.
Okay. So what else do we have to think about when we want to cover our asses?
The other one I talk about is the rebalancing of those investment accounts are a big thing, especially when we talk about large returns that have been happening over the last few years. What can happen is your investment account can change from what you're comfortable with in terms of the risk factor and swing way over to a higher risk value so that if a downturn happens, it can hurt a lot more. So rebalancing your investments of just moving some funds from one to another to ensure you're still at that right risk level for your own capacity is something you want to think about when covering your ass.
Okay. So that's it. We're good. We're done, right? We don't have to worry about anything else. We get all of these things done. We save money, and then we're good to go. We're going to be perfect.
No. I know. It keeps going. This list never ends. Are people still listening at this point is the question.
What else do we need, Aaron?
It's important information. They're all here and they're waiting and they're sitting here and go, yes, how do I make sure everything works out perfectly? I know.
Exactly.
I have high hopes for myself. The next one, these are the easier ones. Monitor your investments all the time. Constantly look at them and watch them. Not daily, but insure, because if you want to ensure you're rebalancing and you're properly diversified, you want to monitor in those investments and never just sit back and say, oh, I've picked this investment account and I should get this return off of it. What happens if that doesn't happen? What happens if you aimed for a 7%, but because we don't know what's going to happen over the next 5, 10, 30 years, no one knows. What happens if that percentage lowers and it's no longer hitting a 7% and your risk is only a 5? How are you going to adjust? Because that can be a lot of money down the road, a change from 7% to 5%. So you need to constantly monitor things, not just from a rebalancing and a diversification, but just ensure, are you actually hitting the targets that you need to, so that you can hit those goals and you're not, now I have to work 2 more years because I didn't watch it enough.
So for many people who are in some sort of program through their work, how much control do you have over what is chosen for where your money goes in those situations?
Those, depending on the type of product. So here we have either a pension plan, at least, or a group plan is what we'd have. So a pension plan, you have limited capability over, because it is a pension plan that's done through the company that you work for, and they will control all that money, because that money is then going to become hopefully an ongoing income down the road when you retire. Versus a group plan, you have a lot more control over it. They do have fund selections in there that you can pick, and you can actually go in and say exactly how you want your funds to be invested and changed over time. So you have a lot more control than you believe you do.
Okay, but that means I'd have to look at it and figure stuff out, right?
Yeah, you do have to look at it, but also that's where an advisor like myself can help you if you don't want to do that and you have that stinky face of, I don't understand these things. Not only as an advisor can help guide you on to understand what are your investments and how are they performing, but it's even, I'm a third party unbiased opinion when it comes to your finances, that you can say, hey, I'm looking at buying this Mercedes. Does it make sense? And I can look at it from an unbiased perspective of,
Yes.
does it act? I will try for you, Wendy. I will try to get that yes for you, but I will look at it from that unbiased opinion of, okay, can you financially do this? And what are the ramifications down the road towards all those other goals? And explain it to you. Go, if you buy that fancy car, are you okay working 2 more extra years than you would want to originally? Is it worth it?
I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one, Aaron, okay? I'll let you know. I'll run the numbers. No, but, here's the thing. Like, so, my husband's plan through his work or whatever, I don't even know how to look at it. And I don't think I'm alone. I think a lot of people, we don't want to look at it. We don't want to be involved. It's confusing. So I just need to figure out how to look at it and get someone to look at it with me.
Yes, and they are complicated. I've seen a number of them, and they are complicated. And then you start talking in health insurance through work as well, and disability stuff. I'm like, they're complicated. They're not 2 pages. Those things get 15 to 30 pages of detailed information. And yes, having someone who can understand it and can hopefully break it down into simple terms of, okay, these are your options and how it works, it's going to make your decisions a lot easier. And that's another thing we can do for you, is break it down for you and explain to you at a 7-year-old level, like I said before, that you understand what it means at a very simple level.
So we're not just talking about building wealth here. You want people to make sure they are protecting their wealth.
Yes, because building wealth is the easy part. Putting the money away and putting it into just picking a fund and saying, wait 30 years. That's the easy part. The next part is basically protecting and covering that money for the next 30 years. That becomes the challenging part. It's like a kid. It's easy to make a kid. It's hard to raise a kid. And that's the thing when it comes to money. It's easy to say so much money into account and you're done. But now monitoring it and correcting it and making sure it hits your goals over the next 20, 30 years is the difficult part. And I think a lot of people don't think how much things they need to think about and come into play when it comes to your finances and how to reach those goals.
Okay. So if people want to get in touch with you to ask some more questions, to find out how they CYA, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so easiest way is always on my website at prickfree.com. You can reach out to me, get more information on there going forward. And you can always reach me at aaron@prickfree.com as well.
And just as a little aside, no rock t-shirt today?
No, I wear a rock t-shirt.
Oh.
I'm educating you on Canadian bands.
Okay.
Gob.
Yeah.
Yes, Gob. It's a rock band from the 90s, punk rock band from the 90s called Gob. So I'm teaching you all the Canadian bands here.
All I have to do now is listen. We'll get there, Aaron. We will get there. All right.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Thank you so much, and thank you for listening today. Please like, follow, and share this podcast with your friends. Until next time, I'm Wendy McConnell.
Thank you for listening to the No Pricks Allowed podcast. Click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. Visit our website at www.prickfree.com or give us a call at 613-876-9899. And don't forget to click the follow button to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Cactus. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. The contents of this podcast do not constitute an offer or solicitation for residence in any other jurisdiction where either Aaron Buchner and/or Sterling Mutuals is not registered or permitted to conduct business. The opinions expressed are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Mutual funds provided through Sterling Mutuals, Inc. Commissions, trailing commissions, management fees, and expenses all may be associated with mutual fund investments. Please read the prospectus carefully before investing. Mutual funds are not guaranteed, their values fluctuate frequently, and past performance may not be repeated.